Hi, I'm Christine Herman of Herman's Quality Meat Shop in Newark, Delaware. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about beef bones, their uses, and how to prepare your own beef stock or bone broth. Are you ready? Beef bones, especially bones from grass-fed cattle, make the best stock. That's what we sell. Our cattle graze all day, and at night they're offered grain. And this makes for the most flavorful and nutritious beef stock ever. Because we get the whole steer in, and we break it down into the primal parts, of course, we have a variety of bones to choose from in order to make your own stock and broth. What we like to suggest is the center marrow bones, which is the femur and the knuckle, which I have here on my block. And we cut them up into sections. And also I suggest some short ribs and some oxtails. You might be wondering the real benefits of making your own beef stock or bone broth. Why bother? Well, let me tell you. Aside from it being a better quality than what you're going to buy in a grocery store in a box or in a can, you have complete control over the ingredients that go in your pot. First, let me give you some nutritional benefits of bone broth. It's very high in calcium, magnesium, and potassium. And it's also a tremendous aid in joint health, and the collagen is ideal for your bone health. And it's also a great immune booster as well. So these are just a few of the advantages of drinking the bone broth, and the list can go on, but we're going to stop there. And your doctor may have some suggestions, but we're just going to go with it from there and know that it's also a great comfort food. Okay, so bone broth or your beef stock is also awesome just to drink the way it is, or it can be used in many recipes. So we're going to talk about some of that as well. And it stores well in your refrigerator once you make it. So we're going to be talking about some preparations on how to do that. So let's get started with the recipe. You ready? Okay, so we're going to take your bones and you're going to arrange them in a tray. And you're going to, you can do one of two things. You can blanch them first in some hot water for about 10 minutes, or you can just put them in a tray and put them in the oven and roast them at about 450 degrees for about 30 minutes. And then turn them over and roast them again for about 30 minutes. And I'll show you what they look like in just a second. So we're going to just do a little collecting here. So I have taken the bones off my block and I put them in a roasting pan, and something like this, that you can actually just roast them in here for about 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and then turn them over and roast them again. And I'll show you what that looks like when we're done. And you can also take your vegetables and cut them up into nice big chunks like this. My vegetables here, as you can see, in large pieces. They don't have to be perfect. They can just be. And what I like to do, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is to have all of these vegetables ready and prepared ahead of time. And then just arrange them on a tray. And I've got my scrubby here. And I am just going to set these sort of aside for the moment and show you that I've already roasted them. But right now, part of my kitchen tip I'm going to do now instead of at the end, which is having your vegetables prepared ahead of time. You see I have my vegetable scrubber and my peeler, and I'm getting everything ready ahead of time. And I said that, but one of the things that goes into this recipe is garlic. And I don't know, a lot of people tend to shy away from using fresh garlic because it's annoying to peel. So you've got a couple of options. One, you can buy it pre-peeled. Two, you can take your clove of garlic like so and literally take either the back of your hand and smash it like that, or like a knife, and kind of makes a mess, and it doesn't always work. Or I found another little trick, which is putting putting your cloves of garlic in 2 bowls and shaking them. And I'm going to do 1 shake or 3. It's a little loud. But what happens is the friction allows the jacket just to peel off really easily. So that's my little kitchen tip on how to prepare garlic. A lot easier and simpler than digging in with your fingernails and whatnot, because that's a mess. So there you have it. There's your kitchen tip. Let's get back to the recipe. So we're going to take these bones and roast them, as I've mentioned. And we're going to go from a raw bone, as I've shown you here with the marrow and the raw, to a cooked bone like this. And that's what they're going to look like, all golden brown and kind of gross looking, to be honest with you. But this is sort of how it ends up. And then you've roasted your vegetables as well. Some people do, some people don't. But for this particular recipe, I have roasted my vegetables. And now that they're roasted, I'm going to clear some space here. And we're going to add some ingredients to our pot. Be right back. Here's the pot. So we have our pot. We have our prepared garlic anyway. Slide this away. Sort of awkward. So we have our pot. And we're going to take our scraper. And we're going to put these bones and all of the goodness into the pot. And one of the keys, I think you get the hint, is to make sure you scrape the bottom of the pan, because there's lots of little bits of goodness that kind of fall off the bone, what we call bits in the cooking world, and scrape them, and I won't do that too loud because that'll be tough on the microphone, and put them in the pot along with these vegetables. And the same thing with the cooked vegetables. Is you're going to put them in the pot. You get the hint. Then once they go in the stock pot, like so, you're going to scrape all that goodness. I'll come back and do that later, but I don't waste any of that good stuff there. I personally like to use distilled water or spring water and to cook with, and then I'm going to fill this and make sure that I cover the pot of vegetables and meat completely, and then some. So we've got this well covered, and then we're going to add our other ingredients, which is thyme, a little bit of thyme, sprinkle some thyme in there. Sprinkle some rosemary. Some black peppercorns. And a little bit of salt. You don't want to add a lot of salt because you can always add the salt to the broth when you're ready to drink it. And then another key ingredient, which is very helpful for pulling out the nutrients in the bones, is either apple cider vinegar or lemon juice. You take your pick. I'm going to use some apple cider vinegar in this, maybe just like a tablespoon or so, and pour that into the broth. And there you have it. We're going to let this pot cook. We're going to let this cook for, and obviously I'm not going to do that here right now, but we're going to let this pot cook for about 10 or 12 hours, and we're going to let it cook down to probably about half the amount of liquid. And then we're going to cool it, strain it, and you're going to take out the bones, you're going to take out the seasonings, the peppercorns, the vegetables, because they're just going to basically turn into a pot of mush. And all of the goodness is going to be in the broth. And you're going to refrigerate it overnight. And then after the next day, you're going to scrape off any extra fat or grease that's on the top. I did forget to mention something. I'm going to backtrack for just a moment. It's really important that the pot while you're cooking this has a lid and it's simmering at a low boil. And if there's impurities that come to the top, this is really very important, and I apologize for not saying this in sequential order. I got so excited about making my stock pot here, that the impurities will actually come to the top, and they'll like be in the form of just bubbles and like I'm going to call foam. You're going to want to take your spoon and try and scrape that off as you cook and discard that. I like to put them in a container and not just, don't put that grease down the sink. Maybe put it in a plastic container, then put a lid on it when it's cool and just throw it away when you're done. Or add it to the strained vegetables when we're done here. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that to you because that is really important. You want to let your pot cook at a nice boil. And then once it boils, bring it down to a simmer with the lid on it. And then I like to tilt the lid halfway so that the steam will escape and you can check it and stir it. And this is something you can do throughout the day and let it cook for hours, probably 8, 9, 10 hours, and that's fine. If you find that you are in the middle of getting ready to go out or your kids have a baseball game or you're ready to eat dinner and you want to turn the pot off, you can always turn the pot off, let it cool. You can even put it in the refrigerator overnight, bring it back out the next day, scrape some of those impurities off, and put it back on the stove and let it cook again. You want to definitely let it reduce down to about half the amount of liquid that's in there. If you feel like you want to add some more water, you can always add a little more water to it and let it continue to cook. And then once it's done, again, you're going to want to strain it probably twice to make sure you get all of the seasonings, especially those black peppercorns, and the vegetables and the bones out. Strain it really well into another container, put it in the refrigerator, and let it sit overnight. Any grease and fat's going to come to the top, scoop that off, and voila, you have a really delicious, dense bone broth that you can use for recipes or just drink on a cool evening or for lunch or breakfast whenever you want to enjoy it. So I hope that was helpful and something that has become very popular in learning about how to make your own bone broth. Thank you. There you have it, your own bone broth recipe. And now you know where to get your own grass-fed bones to make it. So remember, like our page, share this with a friend, bookmark it so you can come back to it and refer to this video as often as you want. And we hope to see you again, and thank you for being part of our family. God bless you.